Alright, guys, Super Bowl Sunday, virtual holiday for any American, basically, so I am stoked. I really hope that the Saints win this one, even though I have a bad feeling the Colts are going to win. But whatever, here is a battle against my good friend in real life, Guillermo, or Peppercat as he's known. Online, and I know he's a Smogonite, and I know he's really competitive, so I decided to bring my A game in this battle, and it's going to be an amazing battle. We'll have to see who wins. So here it is, the battle against Guillermo, aka Peppercat. So here is the battle with my good friend Guillermo from real life, aka Peppercat, and this is a standard match and will be pretty competitive since both of us are really competitive. So I lose my Azelf, he leads with probably Scarf Jirachi, and obviously that's not a good matchup for me. He's just going to go for the Iron Head, but I knew he was probably going to do that, so I go into Heat Ran to resist the Iron Head. So he goes out in a Tyranitar as I go for the Earth Power, basically because I was, it's too early to or for predict at this point, and I went Earth Power because just in case he has a Heat Run of his own, or Fire Blast was the obvious move. I decided to go a little different. So I go on this Scizor against his Tyranitar, and here I was thinking he's not going to stay in against my Scizor and take a Bullet Punch, so I decided to go U-turn. But he does stay in and just go Stone Edge. So that was a pretty epic fail for me. Yeah, and he makes a great play there. So I'm going to now switch out into Breloom because I know this is setup fodder because Tyranitar is slower than Breloom, so that means I can put it to sleep with Spore, and then I can set up a substitute when he switches. Unfortunately for me, he decides to switch out into a Zapdos, which, of course, resists both of my Breloom's attacks. I need to get Stone Edge on my Breloom. I really do. I've said I was going to get Stone Edge on my Breloom for the longest time, but I just haven't, and it would have really helped here. Instead, I have Seed Bomb. And Seed Bomb does help with the bulky waters, but I don't know. I'm starting to think Stone Edge is the better move as my second move after Focus Punch. So he just goes Thunderbolt, gets a crit, probably didn't matter because he's Life Orb Zapdos. And I just go Focus Punch, so that's not going to be very effective, but we'll still do decent damage, basically because of Breloom's amazing attack stat. But yeah, I go out into Tyranitar now, as he goes Roost, so now he's like full health again, which is kind of annoying, but luckily he isn't getting Leftovers recovery, so that Sandstorm is going to be withering him down. And I decided to go for the Stone Edge, hoping to one-hit KO him. He does have the Hidden Power Grass, but with the Sandstorm special defense boost for rock types, it's not going to be doing a whole lot. It actually does more than a quarter, so that's decent damage, but it's going to cost him his Zapdos because my Stone Edge kills him after the Sandstorm damage, so that was pretty awesome. So, yeah, my Tyranitar's looking pretty nice. So he goes out into Jirachi, and I have to switch against this thing because he's probably going to go Iron Head. He decides to go Stealth Rock instead, predicting my switch into Heat Ran, which is a pretty good play, but yeah, so he sets up Stealth Rock, and he has to switch. So I go for Fire Blast, kind of hoping he won't send out the sleeping Tyranitar, but he does. But that's not really too bad of a thing for me, because I can go back into my Breloom and set up a sub. But he ends up making a good play and double switches, so I send out Breloom as he goes out in a Latias, and obviously this is favoring him. And Latias is faster than me. I have to switch because I don't want to lose my Breloom quite yet. So I go out into Tyranitar, seeing what he'd lock himself into, because I don't see the leftover, so it's probably Scarf or Specs. He ends up going Draco Meteor, but misses me. I don't think it really would have killed me because of the Sandstorm special defense boost, but I don't know. So I decided to go Dragon Dance because I thought he'd switch, and he goes out into Scizor, and I'm like, you know what, maybe he'll overpredict too, and he ends up overpredicting, which is amazing. I go for the Stone Edge, so he doesn't go Bullet Punch. He instead predicts a switch and goes Superpower. I guess he was predicting the switch in a Heat Ran, but he ends up living my Stone Edge anyway because he's a very bulky Scizor, he said. So he ends up superpowering my Tyranitar, which takes me out, but thank God I didn't switch into Heat Ran like I was going to. So, yeah, I go on Azelf now, and I just do that because I want to set up Stealth Rocks, and I do get the Stealth Rock set up. He goes out into Jirachi, and at this point I'm thinking, lead Jirachi. Yeah, his next attack is probably U-turn. So I decide to predict the U-turn, and I do get it, and I'm just going to explode! And he goes into Tyranitar. I was kind of hoping that I get his Latias, but who's complaining? Because that explosion will KO his Tyranitar at this point. So that's awesome. I'm not going to complain about it. A KO on Tyranitar. Also, that's a sleeping Pokemon gone, so I can probably put another Pokemon to sleep with Breloom if I get the chance. So now I go on my Latias. He hasn't seen it yet, but he ends up going into Jirachi. Pretty good play for him. I thought he'd U-turn into Latias here, his own Latias, but he doesn't. Instead, he just goes Iron Head, which does a lot of damage to me. And that's rather unfortunate. So I'm going to switch now because I know he's locked in Iron Head, so I'm going to just go into my Heatran. And he does go Iron Head again, which doesn't do anything to Heatran because of the double resistance. So now I'm just going to go, what do I use here? Oh yeah, I just use Fire Blast. And he goes out into Dusknoir. And I was actually kind of hoping I wouldn't kill this thing, because this is like setup fodder for Breloom. But I do, and that kind of sucks. I don't know. I kind of wanted that thing to live, but whatever. Also, that crit doesn't really matter in the long run anyway, since it was a 2-hit KO anyway. But whatever. So it goes out into Latias, and yeah, it gives him a free switch into Latias. And I have to switch because I'm fearing the Surf, and he just goes Draco Meteor, I guess predicting my switch. So that was a pretty good play for him. He takes down my Latias. So now I know he's locked in Draco Meteor, so I go back into my Heatran, and I'm just going to go for the Fire Blast again, knowing he has to switch, and his last Pokemon are Jirachi and Scizor. So I go for the Fire Blast. He's going to sacrifice his Jirachi here, so that's not so bad for me. And Jirachi's going to go down to the Fire Blast. So he switches back into Latias this time, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe this time he'll go for the Surf. So I'm like, okay, go Breloom. So I send out Breloom against this thing, but unfortunately he outplays me again and goes Draco Meteor again. So he takes down my Breloom, which really sucks, and now my last Pokemon is Heatran. And I know he's probably just going to switch into Scizor, but Hidden Power Ice at this point will KO the Scizor, especially after the Stealth Rock, so I just go to the Hidden Power Ice. Basically, it comes down to this. If his Latias is Specs, I win, because my Scarf Heatran will outspeed a Specs Latias. But if his Latias is Scarf, he'll win, because he'll just be able to Surf and outspeed me. So it comes down to this. Is it Scarfs or Specs? It's Specs. So, because his Latias is Specs, I outspeed, get the Hidden Power Ice off, and that is good game. So, good game, Guillermo. Really close, really fun. Hope to do it again sometime. Alright, rate, comment, subscribe, guys. See ya. Today's question of the day is for the Americans in this room, or people who just happen to like American football. So, the Saints and the Colts are in this year's Super Bowl. Question is, who's going to be in the next one? Are you guys going to be all Homerlific, or are you actually going to use your head? As for me, I think it will be... Now I'm thinking hard about this. Dolphins-Packers.